Despicable Me 3 is the third installment of the Despicable Me series, not counting Minions because that's a spin-off. And this film, once again, is about another addition to Gru's family. In the first one, it was the three girls, and the second one, it was Lucy. Now, it's Gru's unknown twin brother named Drew, who's got blonde hair, dresses in all white, but they look exactly the same. They had no idea each other existed until now, and they've got to reconnect as twin brothers. And while this is going on, an evil villain named Balthazar Brat, voiced by Trey Parker from South Park, is setting out on a diabolical plot to get revenge on Hollywood for canceling his TV show from back in the 80s, which he's obsessed with. I actually really enjoy the first Despicable Me movie. I thought it was a really good movie, and even Despicable Me 2, which apparently there's some people that really hate this movie. I honestly don't get it. I thought that movie was actually pretty good too. Minions, I can totally understand. However, I was a little bit more forgiving when I first put up my review of it. Now, I kinda hate that movie. But when they announced that they were gonna go through with the Despicable Me 3, there were two main reasons why I was looking forward to it more than Minions. First off, the Minions are now side characters again. I was hoping that maybe that now that they're back in the supporting roles instead of carrying their own movie, that it would work much better. And plus, I like Gru and his family much more. And second, Trey Parker is the villain. Cartman, Stan, Randy from South Park, he's the villain. What? Those two main reasons alone got me actually pretty interested to see this film, and walking out of it, I couldn't help but feel like I just walked out of a straight-to-DVD film that was accidentally sent to theaters. And I'm not saying that it feels straight to DVD because it's just an utter failure, the animation is garbage, and everything about it is just a garbage movie. I'm not saying that. It's just that at its core, there's really no heart to this film. It feels like we need to make money off of this, so they went the easy route of doing whatever works faster. This movie sets up a really cool potential where Gru is meeting his twin brother Drew, and their dad was really disappointed in Drew, and Gru realizes his mom was very disappointed in him. There could have been some mature moral about being thought of as disappointments and not being able to live up to your parent expectations, or anything about connecting to an estranged family member after being apart, not knowing each other existed for so long, and there's really no emotional drive to this thing. They mention it once, and then they go into Gru and Drew shenanigans and kind of forget all about it. And some people might consider what I'm about to say a spoiler, and honestly, it's not really a spoiler, it's kind of predictable. Of course, these two characters are gonna get into a fight near the end of the second act. Like, that's obvious. That happens in most movies with this kind of plot, but the difference is this movie kind of solves that argument in like a minute later, and it's like, why did you even get into that fight if you're just gonna apologize to each other a minute after? And it felt like nothing of importance really happened. I liked Gru's character arc in the first movie, and I also really enjoyed it in the second movie. It was really sweet. In this movie, it doesn't really feel like he had an arc to go through, which is really surprising because they were doing a good job with it with the other two movies. Steve Carell is still good as the voice, and Gru as a character, he's fine. It's just, there's nothing really for him to do that's so special in this film. And even Drew, also voiced by Steve Carell, just a different voice, I was afraid he was gonna get obnoxious, and he wasn't. Thank God, he wasn't obnoxious. They had a good dynamic with each other, but it's just that Drew never met the expectations that the potential had originally set up for him in the first place. In Pixar's hands, I feel like this could have been an actual emotional experience for some people, and kids would actually learn something of importance, but because Illumination Entertainment, they need to cash in on the Minions and Despicable Me as fast as they can, they kind of just rush through it. They set it up so perfectly, though. They had that potential right there, and I was like, yes, now all you have to do is set out to match that expectations, and they never did it. I was honestly quite baffled that it went just so straight to DVD-esque. And even the rest of Gru's family, they're kind of swept under the rug. They don't really have much to do. Margot, if you notice, by the way, Margot's wearing a Grinch shirt because Illumination Entertainment is making a Grinch movie. It's a little tie-in. It's kind of, who cares? But Margot has this thing with this Spanish boy at one point, but that ends really quickly. Agnes is looking for a unicorn out in the forest because they have to pad the movie out, and Edith is just along for the ride, pretty much. They have nothing. To think, these three girls that meant so much to Gru in the first movie and even the second one just don't really have anything to do in this movie. They could have been cut out and no one would have noticed. And even Lucy, Kristen Wiig, I thought she was a nice addition, and they set up something that could have been neat to see her character go through as far as needing to fit in as these girls' mother. They breeze right through that, though, so it's barely even a part of the movie's plot. It's just, we set it up, and now we're done. It's nothing much. And these guys, these little yellow Twinkies, the Minions. Now look, I like them in Despicable Me. And even in Despicable Me 2, they actually incorporated them more into the villainous plot of 2, so I like that. And Minions, that was when I started to realize these things really aren't that funny. They gave them an entire movie to carry, and they're really not that funny. And it continues on in this movie. The Minions are not that funny. There's 1 minute of them at a jail, and they're like pretty much owning the place, snapping their fingers, everyone's scared of them. And I was like, okay, that's kind of funny. But then they go on and on and on. And I was like, this is just not... They're not funny. They don't have the same kind of heart anymore. And I'm not sure if that's just because I'm just so jaded at the fact that Illumination has used them for marketing and profits and all that now. But they just really aren't that funny in this movie. They aren't annoying to me. It's just whenever I saw them, they just didn't do anything for me. Kids loved them. In the theater I was in, every Minion joke, they laughed. I didn't. I just sat there like, yeah, okay. And every time they were on screen, I was just like, let's just cut back to Balthazar Brat. He's the actual funny one. But no, we gotta see the Minions punch each other some more. And speaking of Balthazar Brat, Trey Parker is the best part of this film. And it's not because his villainous character is so well-rounded, so three-dimensional, there's an emotional reason as to why he wants to be a villain. No, his TV show that was corny got canceled, and he wants revenge on Hollywood because he thinks it deserves so many Emmys. That's the villain. You gotta ride with it. And I think Trey Parker really did make this villain as entertaining as he possibly could have. I honestly, every time he was on screen, he was the most interesting part of the movie. And he also made me laugh the most out of anyone in this film. There are a couple funny things. There's not a whole lot, but there's a couple funny lines. Balthazar Brat made me laugh the most, consistently. There's actually one thing I wish this movie was a little bit more dedicated to. They introduced a new boss at the Anti-Villain League, voiced by Jenny Slate, for only one scene. For only one scene, they actually introduced an idea that was a lot better than the rest of the movie. Like, how about we just have a movie where Gru and Lucy are trying to track down Balthazar Brat, but their overbearing boss is getting to them. Each time they fail to capture Balthazar Brat, she yells at them or threatens their jobs or anything. Like, that honestly seemed much more interesting than the route they actually did take with the film. But unfortunately, the Jenny Slate character is only in the first scene, and then she's out. She's done. When I see this movie, I'm not really angry. I'm not upset, fuming. It's just, I think it could have been a lot more. Kids, though, they are going to love this movie. And that's, you know, they love a lot of Illumination Entertainment films because that's just what they do. I don't think any adults will hate watching this film, mainly because Trey Parker's in it and they'll recognize, hey, that's Randy from South Park. But really, there's nothing story-wise, there's nothing substance-wise to really get attached to. The Gru character, sure, it's great to see him again. Steve Carell does a good job. It's just that they completely waste his potential. Same thing with the girls and Lucy. And the Minions just, to me, they aren't funny anymore. There are some reviews I've heard where they're like, yeah, the Minions are funny again. I didn't see it, man. The action is fun enough. You can sit there and you can watch it and be like, alright, that's kind of fun. And the animation is beautiful. It actually is really gorgeous. Illumination does not take days off when it comes to animating their film. The animation in each one looks really great because of the worlds and the colors and the character designs they have. They do good jobs with those. But this movie can't just skate by on, look at the cool animation. Look at how funny this character looks. How about, is the character actually funny? Is the character well-rounded? Do they have anything to add to this story, substance-wise? And this movie really does fall flat on its face when it comes to any form of substance. I think, like Ice Age, maybe this one should have gone straight to DVD, but because, like Ice Age, they make lots of money, they gotta release it to theaters. And it was just very clear to me that they just did not care about this film. And honestly, that kind of sucks because I think this movie could have actually been a really good film. I think it could have had a nice moral, but no, there's just no emotional drive. I'm gonna give Despicable Me 3 a C+. It's a passable movie. The kids will love it. The adults will just sit there and just, you know, it's okay, whatever. But it just really upsets me that this movie could have been so much more, and it had some good elements here and there. It's just that I wish the entire movie had those great elements that I was expecting from the potential they set up. But if you've seen Despicable Me 3, leave in the comments below what you thought of it, and as always, thank you all for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.